All right, a Dead 3 solo cast, a mini cast. I'm sorry, not a solo cast. Most of them are solo cast, but this is a mini cast, meaning that this will be about a 10 to 15 minute thing. We're going to jump right into it. Everybody knows the song and dance of, hey, just get out and support. We're 10Xing this sucker this year. We're going to go from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000. And I'm making plans on that and trying to come up with strategies for that with the help of our friendly chat GPT here on strategies, tactics, and ideas on how we can get better in 2023. I encourage you to do that as well. Take everything you can, get as much knowledge as you can, get as many ideas, perspectives, insights as you can. And if chat GPT is one of them, then go for it. So we're going to jump right into it. We're only going to go about 10 minutes. Where is my handy timer here that I use this morning that I kind of follows me around in the morning on my morning routine as we try to get to a number of things. We're going to start it at 10 minutes, 20 seconds. We'll see what we can do. But I appreciate all the support on this podcast. I say that every single time, but it is meaningful to me. And the best thing you can do in helping me reach my goals is to like, comment, and share. We are looking to 10X this, but at the end of the day, it's amazing that I never really truly know where the podcast is going to go and what we're going to talk about. But I said this to a team I was working with the other day. Nobody pays for average. And it was a coaching note from Don Meyer, a mentor of mine, many years ago, 20 plus years ago, and it still sticks with me, and it's always kind of top of mind. Nobody pays for average. And I was talking to this team about, filling the stands and, why the NBA gets filled up and why the teams that are the best, the courtside seats, the 300 level seats are always booked and always, cost so much money because the best teams, the ones that are killing it, the Denver Nuggets, the Los Angeles Lakers, whomever it is, the Kansas City Chiefs, that nobody pays for. If you're not good in that league, you're not going to fill it up. For years that I lived in Detroit and took tickets outside as a ticket taker outside the old Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan, when I would go work those, like the Lions were awful. And people would come to the games, but nobody pays for average. And they were awful. But now that the Lions are really good, that place is sold out. They were a game away from the Super Bowl. And I was rooting for them, although it would have been a small mini war in my family as my wife grew up in Kansas City and I spent 10 years in Detroit coaching basketball. So that would have been interesting. But not luckily, it would have been fun to have seen the Lions in the Super Bowl. But nobody pays for average. So what's that have to do with the podcast? Like at the end of the day, I want to 10X this and I can come up with the strategies. I could go to chat GPT. I could come up with all the sayings and all the different things to get ideas and strategies and tactics out of it. But at the end of the day, it's got to be quality. It's got to be exceptional. There's got to be great conversation. There's got to be some things I'm giving you of value that you then take away. So it is not average because nobody will pay. Nobody will share. Nobody will like. Nobody will comment on anything that comes out of if it's average. So it's the same thing in your industry. Nobody's going to pay for an average money guy or a financial guy or somebody that's just okay. Like if I'm investing money in you, you better be exceptional because I'm not going for average. I'm not going for okay. I'm not going for good enough. I am going and paying for elite, the best, the highly recommended. And so at the end of the day, this can't be an average just podcast. If I want to 10X it, if I want to take it serious, then it's got to be elite. And the quality has to be there. The conversation, I need to get better at telling a story. I need to be better at giving a perspective or a strategy or a tactic that you can then implement that may keep you coming back for more. So I listened this morning on my walk this morning, and I'm continuing to kind of crush these daily goals that I have. I had a gentleman on my podcast to continue to pivot. I had a gentleman on my podcast during the pandemic, Mark Meltzer, and he's phenomenal. And how I got him, I don't know. I reached out to him on LinkedIn. He responded. I scheduled with him. We had 30 minutes and he was literally going podcast to podcast to podcast. And we had 30 minutes and he was kind of no nonsense, no fluff. This is a $100 million guy. And it was, it was just really, really good having a conversation with him. And at the end of the day, it was just about, quality, leveling up, having aggressive goals. But everything he talked about that I remember from that day, talking with him, he said, George, everything I do is built around me getting to 4 a.m. And that resonated with me. I was like, wow, like your whole day and what you do and what you plan. He said, I get up at like 3:45, 3:50, whatever it might be. Maybe he gets up at 4, but everything he said he does from 4 to 6, 4 to 7 sets the table for his entire day. And everything is geared towards him getting to 4 a.m. And I didn't register with me, it was impactful to me, but I kind of let it go. But the more I do this, the more I read these, I'm looking at these books now of the 5 a.m. club and 10x is easier than 2x and thinking like a monk and the books we talked about yesterday. Like, it's true. It is getting to that morning. It is starting your day. And I wrote on one of my note cards today from one of the books about the idea of just giving yourself energy, giving yourself positivity, giving yourself perspective, being grateful and having gratitude in your morning, and getting out and doing your morning walk or run and getting filled with all the endorphins that accompany that. And then positioning that through your day, because the book I'm reading now that is right here open next to me is about how to build powerful habits. But a portion of the book that I read this morning has to do with willpower. And the idea of willpower is just owning your day, honoring your commitments. Willpower is a muscle. And so the more you get your wins early, and the more you will feel that your day is successful, positive, and progressing, and you're moving things forward, that you are winning, that you have the willpower to not sleep in, to honor this commitment, to do these things, to segment your day up, to get a win at 7 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., and chunking it up and figuring out how to get your wins. This book continues to say that willpower is a muscle, and you have to get the wins every day to continue to grow your willpower, that you can then now wake up at 5, go for a run, lift some weights, do some reading, do some meditating, being active, growing, all that sort of stuff. You're just like, shit, this is just what I do. But you know what? December 1st of 2023, I couldn't do any of this. And now it's just a powerful habit, to quote the book title. In this book, and if you followed my podcast, we've talked about this a lot recently. Man, it's just, and I continue to say it every podcast, and maybe it's my theme of 2024, and maybe it's what I feel my children need. Maybe it's what I feel the people I'm leading need. Maybe it's what I need, right? At the end of the day, we've got to build confidence that people can execute and get results. Results are king. Results are king. Winning games, getting clients, getting software out the door. Results are king. How do you get results? Build confidence in people, have great leadership, have a great message, have great vision, have great accountability, create a culture, an elite culture, elite success, right? To quote another book that I have here called You Win in the Locker Room First, by the old Atlanta Falcons head football coach. But I'm reading this book this morning, and they talk about this gentleman who grew up on the streets of New York City, the concrete jungle, getting beat up every day in recess and competing and doing all this sort of stuff, to now that when it was like 1987, he purchases 6 coffee shops in the Northwest called Starbucks. And Howard Schultz in 1987 bought Starbucks. Starbucks had 6 stores. I was looking at a picture yesterday because Seattle's where I grew up, outside of Seattle. And there was a picture I was looking at yesterday. It was crazy. Like, I put on a VR headset, these Oculus 2s or whatever they are. And I went to YouTube on this Oculus and I looked for 3D or VR cityscapes. And I ended up in this VR world of downtown Seattle at the Pike Place Market. And right around the corner is the original Starbucks, which is still there. And it's awesome. And I when I go back home to Seattle, which is not often, it is a place I go. But they start talking to the power of habit. in this book about Howard Schultz and everything he did to build up Starbucks, which is a long podcast on how to build and what he did to Starbucks and what that means to people that work there. And I actually, when I got out of coaching, spent 6 to 8 months learning to be a software developer and was a barista at Starbucks because it was the only job I could get. I was 35 years old, 35. Went in and asked for an application at Starbucks, worked from 3 o'clock to 10 o'clock every day while I learned how to write software and learn that. So that was quite a humbling experience. This is what he said, though. My mom always said, you're going to be the first person to go to college. You're going to be a professional and you're going to make us all proud. And he goes on to say, she would ask us little questions as we were being raised. How are you going to study tonight? How are you going to do tomorrow? How do you know that you're ready for your exams? And he goes on to kind of talk about all these little questions that his mom gave him. She was teaching him how to set goals, how to dream, how to reach, how to plan, how to prioritize. Paraphrasing a little bit on what I took from it. And he says, I've really been lucky. And I really genuinely believe that if you tell people that they have what it takes to succeed, they will prove you right. So it comes back to, man, if we can just believe in people that are willing and eager. That's a huge phrase there, that are willing and eager and believe in them. The people that want it the most, that are willing to, bleed on the field. The people that are willing to sweat the most. I had a player that played for me that all he talked about was being in the NBA, but he was never in the classroom, never in the weight room, never in the gym. But that's all he talked about. He wasn't willing to bleed, suffer, and sweat for what it took to be great. But those that are in, that you are leading, that care the most, that want it the most, that are there early, that stay late, that are there, that this is what they think about. I had a player call me or text me recently and said, Coach, this is all I have and all I want to do. And everything backed up those statements. Believe in those people. Teach them how to dream. Teach them how to goal set. Teach them how to prioritize. Teach them that they're there not alone, that they are not alone, that they are building an army of support. Teach them that. Lead them that way. Be great to your people. I've been really lucky, and I really genuinely believe that if you tell people they have what it takes to succeed, they will do everything they can to prove you right. Lead, believe, build confidence, set vision. Don't let people tell you that you can't. Grew up on the streets of New York City, a concrete jungle, 1987, by Starbucks. We know how successful that brand is. And he sits there and he says, man, people always level up to what you believe in them. People will only accomplish what they feel they are worth. That is a Ed Milet phrase that I have on a note card here. People will only level up to what they feel they are worth or capable of. After I had Mike Meltzer on my podcast, who was the most accomplished guest that I've ever had on. Right after that episode, I believe I stopped getting those guests on. I stopped asking for those guests. I stopped maybe podcasting and doing a fair amount of that, and it dropped off. And I was rolling. We were rolling. It was going. And my wife looked at me and she says, right when you get near the goals you have, the success you want, the next level of your greatness, to steal my phrase, she was like, you stop. Because I don't feel I'm worth it. Maybe I don't feel I'm capable. Maybe I feel it's too much work. There's a card that I have here. I don't have the book in front of I have the book in front of me. I don't have the page open. But as you roll towards your successes, you will stop where the fear is and you will sabotage yourself because you don't feel you're worth it. You don't feel you deserve it. You don't feel you're capable of it. So you will sabotage yourself and give in to the fears that are on the line. That line, That line of greatness where you're at is fear, and you're afraid to go over it. So you stop and you go back to where you're comfortable instead of dominating the fear. You just don't. You don't. I don't. So let's go through the fear of putting out a podcast, putting my face on YouTube, sitting here in a sweatshirt with a bad hairline and a big nose and a receding hairline that's going back. And let's just attack it and dominate it and go through the fear and say, hey, I'm going to 10X this sucker. I'm going to be great. I'm not going to give in to fear. I'm not going to sabotage myself, and I'm going to go be great. I'm going to find people that believe and encourage and show and recognize my progress. And I'm also going to take the feedback when it can get better. And I'm going to do that for the people I lead, because everybody's got dreams. The person pouring your coffee at Starbucks this morning is sitting there with a dream. Maybe the dream is at Starbucks, but maybe the dream is somewhere else. And whatever you can do to help those people have those dreams. Went a little bit over. That's 15 minutes. There's your mini cast of the day. I hope it's been valuable. 10X it. Believe in people. Believe in yourself. Cross the line of fear. Go attack your day. Thanks.